Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. So guys, it's frustrating. Demetrius Andrade and Golovkin situation has got kind of messy. You know, Andrade is basically calling Golovkin out, forcing dazn to, force Golovkin to unify. He's frustrated. Andrade and Golovkin don't know what Golovkin's doing. Golovkin, we knew that dazn weren't happy with his opponents and they want him to fight Andrade. But Golovkin came out on his Twitter and said, I won't be forced. Basically, insisted that, he won't be forced and he'll fight whoever he wants to fight and who his fans want him to fight. Basically insinuating that, he'll fight who he wants to fight. And obviously his fans, his hardcore fans, will be happy with no matter who he fights. I didn't ever think Golovkin's career would get to this point because I thought Golovkin, he'd be in a position where he could do what he wants. And he is in a position where he could probably do what he wants. But it's getting to the point where his last couple of opponents have been against guys that, nobody was that interested in, to be honest. And Golovkin, if you look at the majority of his career, apart from Dervinchenko, Canelo, Jacobs, a lot of the guys that he fought prior to that, a lot of people were saying, well, who's he fighting? He's fighting nobodies. But after the Canelo fights, it's kind of gone back to that, where he's fighting guys what he's expected to beat. But now the middleweight division isn't what it was when he was at the top in his prime. The middleweight division now has got guys that people actually want to see him fight against. And guys that are willing to fight him, like an Andrade, like a Charlo, like a Murata. We've heard that, he's going to have a fight with Murata. But that's reported for December. He could easily fight Andrade in September or, and then fight Murata after that. I'm a little confused to what the problem is. I know a lot of people saying, well, Golovkin's ducking. I respect Golovkin and I think he's great. Don't really want to say that he's ducking anybody because I don't think that's within Golovkin's nature. But you have to say that, for me, there was talk about Golovkin and Canelo recently, that if the plant fight don't happen, Canelo's willing to fight Golovkin. It's starting to become a little obvious that maybe that's the direction that Golovkin wants to go down. Golovkin is now in a position where he wants the Canelo fight. And it's sad in a way because Golovkin in his prime was a fighter that fought literally everyone. He didn't care who he was fighting, he just fight anyone. But it does look like Gennady Golovkin now is looking for a Canelo fight. And he's not really interested in anything else, seems like it. Even with all the pressure being put on him. Because let's be honest, if Golovkin came out and put out that tweet, that means dazn are putting pressure on him to unify against Andrade. So going back to the middleweight division, now there are fighters in the middleweight division that people want to see Golovkin fight. And maybe it's come at a wrong time of his career. Maybe it's come at the wrong time for Golovkin. But it's still an opportunity for Golovkin to seal his name and put the icing on the top of his legacy. Because I personally think they're still winnable fights. If they were fights where I was like, nah, you can't beat, I believe he can beat them. So I think he should look to take those fights. I think he has to kind of move on from Canelo because I think Canelo's moved on. I think Canelo's looking at Golovkin as like a backup option, whereas Golovkin's looking at Canelo as his main option. Canelo's thinking about legacy. He's thinking about becoming undisputed, then going up and fighting Beterbiev and Bivol and becoming undisputed. Canelo's got big plans. Golovkin, he hasn't moved up in his career. It's an opportunity for Golovkin to unify the division and sail off into the sunset. He'll get paid a lot of money to do that. It's not like I don't know whether it's not even about the money because I'm pretty sure Golovkin's had 2 Canelo fights. He's made a lot of money, Golovkin. He fought Brook in the UK. Golovkin would have made a lot of money. I'm not even sure it's about the money. I think it's about wanting revenge with Canelo. And he doesn't want to get beat by somebody else while he's trying to pursue that fight with Canelo. Golovkin, right now, right now there's an opportunity for him to fight Demetrius Andrade. I don't know. It's a tough one because I like Golovkin, but I think it comes to a point where you have to, maybe take that fight, because fans don't want to see Golovkin, and DAZN are paying him a lot of money, most likely. They probably don't want to see him in another fight with Steve Rolls or, a Sarameta. They probably don't want to see that. They want to see him in there with an Andrade, with a Charlo, with a, Murata. They want to see him in there with guys like that. Because they know that'll move the needle. And they can't get the Charlo fight because Charlo's not with DAZN. Andrade is. And they know that will be a big fight. So it makes sense for their platform. But Golovkin probably thinking, no, I want the Canelo fight. So he's probably looking to fight guys like he's been fighting until he can get that big fight. But now DAZN are saying, no, we want you to fight Andrade. But to Golovkin, that's not a big fight. He just looks at that as a normal fight. It's not a super fight for him. And he may look at it as a risky fight. I want to see Golovkin. Because here's the thing. If somebody's past their best, but I know that he would have beaten that guy. But, now he can't. And that guy's too good now. The thing is, Golovkin, what he showed me of recent, I still think he can beat Andrade, and that's why I want to see the fight, because I think he can beat Andrade, and that's why I still think it's a fight that I'd like to see, because I think he could beat him, and this is why I think it's hard to give him a pass on that, because I feel he can beat him, and even though he may be past his best, I think he should take that fight. But I think Golovkin's got his own plans on what he wants to do. And Golovkin probably wants to keep fighting. And that's why he's probably going to fight Murata, because he probably thinks Murata's going to be a big payday. And it's a very winnable fight for Golovkin. So Golovkin's thinking, I'll beat Murata. I'll pick up a huge payday. I'll be unified champion. Maybe that would lure Canelo to come back to middleweight. I don't know. But I think the end goal for Golovkin is Canelo. And when this news got broke that if Caleb Plant fight don't happen, Canelo may fight Golovkin. Golovkin said he's ready to fight Canelo in the fall. But the fact is, I think that's what it is. Golovkin's got his head stuck on Canelo. Whereas Canelo's not really interested. Canelo's already said, I'd rather fight Charlo than fight Golovkin. He's already made his stance clear. He's already told us where his head's at. If there's a fight with Charlo and a fight with Golovkin, he's picking Charlo. He's fought Golovkin twice. He beat him once. That chapter's probably closed. That fight only happens if Canelo wants it to happen. But has Canelo got any desire? Because here's the thing. If Canelo goes on to fight like a Beterbiev, beats a Beterbiev, Golovkin will be forgotten about in terms of the Golovkin fight, because he'd be going on to be even bigger and better things than Golovkin. He's fighting... Canelo's doing now what Golovkin should be. Golovkin should have done ages ago. Golovkin should have moved up to 168 ages ago and fought Andre Ward. Maybe gone up to 175. Remember, he's naturally bigger than Canelo. He started off at 160. Canelo's been moving up. Canelo started off as a welter, light middleweight, then moved up. Golovkin started off as a middleweight. So for me, Canelo's done the things that Golovkin should have done. And that's why Canelo's legacy is far greater than Golovkin's legacy. It's not even comparable, really. And he's going to become undisputed in the weight class above Golovkin. Yet Golovkin was a bigger man. And Golovkin could have done that. Golovkin could have... Like, when Ward went up to 175, Golovkin could have gone up to 168 and cleaned up. He could have cleaned up. He was too busy collecting the belts at 160, but then ended up losing to Canelo. But he could have gone up to 168 when the Canelo fight wasn't being made, and, Canelo, basically vacated his belt. Golovkin could have gone up to 168 when he, couldn't get the Canelo fight, and he could have cleaned up there. Because people would have fought Golovkin at 168. He could have cleaned up, and Golovkin would have been the biggest name there as well. So Golovkin could have literally cleaned up. But I feel like he's always been chasing Canelo. And even now, after Canelo fighting him twice, he's still chasing Canelo. I think Golovkin may have to move on from that and say, you know what, forget Canelo, I'm going to do my own thing. And I'm going to look to cement my legacy. He's a great fighter, he's a great middleweight, but finish off my career, finish off my legacy by unifying the 160-pound division. By beating everybody in the 168-pound division, which he's more than capable, even now at 39, to do. Golovkin could easily beat any middleweight, no problem. Golovkin could probably beat any super middleweight, apart from Canelo. I would favor Golovkin to beat most guys at 160 and 168. Possibly Benavidez could be a problem, but even that, I won't be surprised if Golovkin stops him. Apart from Canelo, I think Golovkin could potentially beat anyone at 160 and 168. So this is why I think people want to see him fight Andrade. They want to see him fight Charlo, because they still think he's very good. They still think he's capable of beating those guys. But unfortunately, I think Golovkin has got himself fixated on Canelo. And Canelo's not really worried about Golovkin. Like I said, Canelo's got so many options, and he's already stated that if a fight with him or Charlo, he would prefer a Charlo fight. So that's my take on it. What do you guys think? Do you think dazn will be able to push this fight through? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.